How you doing, folks? My name's Jesse. Vlog entry number 59, February 5th. What have I been working on? Well, I started a new YouTube channel, Guitar Backing Tracks. No, Guitar Jam Tracks. It's a creative outlet. It's something I can do that doesn't involve buying guitars. And I can still come in every week and talk about what I've been working on. So I thought this would be a handy thing to do. In the long term, April, the first Friday in April, first Friday or first Saturday in April, my blues band is going to be doing a benefit at the Northeast VFW for Project 22, which is a nonprofit group that provides mental health support for at-risk vets. Preakness, Saturday, I'm playing a Preakness party with Box Turtle Bob and a phenomenal musician, Marty Cullum. I'm not sure what happens in June or July. The Nightcrawlers got booked for Fall Fest in October, and I think there's something going on in September. No, Fall Fest is in September, car show in October. So that's what's going on. So these backing tracks that I made are tracks that I made quite some time ago, and I've shared them in different iterations. Let me play a clip of what I did. It's sort of like a bastardized version of Honky Tonk Woman, where I change things up enough, hopefully, that, you know, copyright strikes don't come down. So let me play it for you now, and then I'll talk about how I put it together, and then I'll talk about what I did it with and whatever's on my mind. All right? Give a listen. Okay, so that was a workman-like performance. It was all right. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, about that. Any number of other people would have lit that backing track up. And that was the best I could do in a couple of days worth of time. And I'll talk about why. So let me start with the thought process. The first thought process was try and stay out of the way of the guitar, the rhythm guitar. You know, the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards and Charlie Watts were the driving engines behind the Rolling Stones. And the lead guitar is really just there for basic ornamentation. You know, it's not necessarily there to create a composition within a composition. And so I tried leaving holes. I thought it was really important to leave holes in places. And I did that a little better at the beginning than I did at the end. If I could do it over again, I think I made the end just a little too wordy, so to speak. So that was the first thing I was thinking. The second thing I was thinking was, can I get a take where I don't clam up at some point? Because really, that's the hard part for me. And we'll talk about it, you know, and it was like, don't worry about the cliches. Just try and get something that sounds decent. Don't worry about if it's an original lick. Don't worry about if there's enough flash to it. You know, just try and get something down that sounds like it goes with the song. So I got to that part, and then I asked myself two questions. Number one, is there a place where I can put some flash? And when you do that, you have to ask yourself two questions. Number one, do you have any flash? And number two, where are you going to put it? Well, I don't have a whole lot of flash. That lick, you know, might be the only semi-flashy lick I got, and I'm cheating to begin with it, because really all I'm doing, that's all the thumb and index are doing, and I'm hammering on. And if you hit it just right, if you mute it just right, it sounds like you're picking all the notes. It's one of the only techniques I was able to steal off Nuno. Nuno was a king of that. You know, you palm mute and you do hammer-ons, and it'll sound like you're picking all the notes. So that was the one piece of flash that I had. And after that, it was like, all right, how can I take some of the cliches that I played and change them up a little bit? You know? And so, like, there's the place where I was in C. You know, and I mean, that's, you know, it's all pentatonic major, pentatonic major. Well, and if you're doing nothing but sliding up and down the pentatonic major scale the whole time, that's going to get really tiring. So I was like, well, what can I do to make it different? And so instead of going to the third here, I went to the root. That's not setting the world on fire, but it's different, you know. Now, the other thing I did, like this lick here, that was the very first lick I ever learned, you know. And you can beat that one to death too. So what I did with that, you know, so when you do that, there's the fifth, second, bend to the third. Well, if you move up 3 frets, this is the flatted 7th. You know? So then you're bending to the 5th. And if you let it go at the major third, you know. And I guess you could just... So that was what I was thinking of when I put that together. You know, and how to connect things up. You know, so it wasn't super original. It wasn't super, you know, it wasn't super impressive. It was workman-like, and it got the job done. And that pretty much sums up the best I can do. Which leads me to explaining why. I've had a lot of time to think about this. You know, you can't put stuff up on YouTube and not compare yourself to other musicians. And at this point, the market is getting pretty tight, you know, because there's a lot of amazing talent that's gone to YouTube, because YouTube is the last bastion for guys like that. You know, sessions are drying up, gigs are drying up. If you want to make money, you know, YouTube's the place to go, I guess. You know, 12 years ago, it was easier, you know, because the competition wasn't as stiff. But you know what? I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, I realize there's no way I could compete with those guys. I'm not on the same playing field. And I know why I'm not on the same playing field. I'm not on the same playing field because I don't have the time on the fingerboard. Now, I've been playing since I was 13, and there are plenty of years where I played several hours a day, but not that many. I honestly believe that what separates us from the true professionals is just the time on the fingerboard, you know? Because what happens is it becomes cumulative. You know, the best players got to spend the most amount of time on the fingerboard for the longest amount of time, and if you're consistent and dedicated and disciplined about it, you can't help but get better. You know, in 1994, I started working full time as a teacher, as a high school teacher, and that takes up a lot of hours of the day. You know, I'm never going to be as good as some of the guys who are amazing now because I just didn't have the time to dedicate to it. You know, someone told me a story one time about what's his name? Guthrie Govan. Someone once told me a story about Guthrie Govan, that someone walked up to Guthrie Govan and was just gushing about how Guthrie played and how he could never be like Guthrie. And Guthrie reportedly asked him, "Do you know how to ride a bike?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you know how to ride a skateboard?" The guy said, "Yeah." "You know how to do this? You know how to do this?" And the guy was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I don't, because I spent all my time on the guitar." You know? Like, there's a trade-off for everything. So I'm not as good a player as I would like to be. It's not as good a player as my heroes are. Never going to be. And that's just math. You know? It just is what it is. But I can be the best me that I can be at the moment. Right? And if that entertains somebody, great. And if it doesn't entertain them, oh well. But I tried. Now, my friend Don will appreciate this. I am playing this through the HX Stomp XL. I'm using the Grammatico, I think it's the Brit version, the Grammatico amp, using Kinky Boost, using the simple delay, which someone's got to explain that to me, because even though it's a simple delay, you get this ping pong thing. I'll be honest, I didn't spend a whole lot of time tweaking these things because, one, time, two, that frustrates me to no small end. And I'd much rather be playing in an amp, but I think this is going to be the easiest way to do it. This is the second time I've shot this video. The first time using a lavalier, and it's worked. I've made it work. So I'm probably going to be doing this for a little while, so I'll continue to investigate the HX Stomp XL and see where it takes me. So check out my channel, Guitar Jam Tracks. Let me know if you've tried the Grammatico amp and HX Stomp, and anything else. My name's Jesse. I'll talk to you later.